Good morning. This is Ruth Evelyn and Mary Holden, and you're listening to the conversation Unscripted. It is November 5th, 2015, which I'm marveling at that. And we were having some technical difficulties earlier. Hopefully everything will iron out throughout this whole broadcast. And you are here again with Ruth and with Mary. Mary, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Ruth. I'm well. How are you?
Well, I'm doing well. I'm having a little bit of an issue with time shifting on me very quickly, and I need to mute some music here. Time is jumping on me, and it's jumping forward where a minute is actually seeming like 30 seconds, and the 30 seconds before the broadcast jumped to 5 seconds. It's like constant shift. I had a dream last night that I slept completely through the broadcast and didn't wake up until 3 o'clock this afternoon. And I woke in the dream. I woke up to a broadcast of you speaking to another woman. And I got up very quickly in my dream to rush around and prepare to, number one, make it up to you, and then to get together. And I saw a
Ruth?
Yes?
I lost you there for a minute. Did we have some dead space on the air?
I don't know. Kelly that was my technical issue. Kelly is saying that that I was cutting in and out and I was having difficulty calling in. So how is it now?
It's better, and you were describing a dream that you had last night.
Yes. And so in the dream I also saw a storm brewing outside, and as I looked more closely at the storm, it had stalled, but what was coming in was this, above the storm was this very light, wispy white clouds, and so there was some sort of rescue remedy coming in as this storm was held at bay. And when I woke up physically, I realized there were some things that I needed to take care of energetically. And so I switched some paintings around, got some order done, did some meditation, and I feel very, very strong and very good and very balanced and grounded, except this whole time thing is shifting really, really fast. And I feel like I'm talking really fast.
Well,
so how are you this morning?
At the same speed. So I wanted to talk about atmospheric conditions. And when you wake up and feel as energized as you do, or when you wake up and feel that there is a density around you that you don't, you have to fight through in order to get out of bed, what causes that? What brings that on? Is it a mass consciousness? Is it tapping into a mass consciousness about what's going on around you, or is it personal? And this really kind of goes to the atmospheric conditions of your own life. We have weather systems that we have to deal with all the time, but what about your own personal weather system?
Well, to answer the general question, it's a huge combination of the mass consciousness, of your personal consciousness, and the stronger that you get, the stronger that you are in your own self, you create, you don't create, and I'm hearing a lot of paperwork, whatever you're doing, it's really loud.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. But when you connect in with yourself and develop that relationship with your higher self, with your light pattern, with your holographic field, that strengthens your beingness within your own body and your own your own system empowers your humanity. And the stronger that relationship is, the more capability it has, it influences, the more it influences the energies, the atmosphere, the frequencies around you. And with that strength, that empowerment, that beingness, that harmonic resonance and attunement that is created within the body with you and the relationship with you, your light, that expands, and that strength expands, and it pushes itself outside the body because it keeps expanding like billowing clouds, keep expanding, and or heat expands. And what that does is it creates a barrier of protection, if you will. And you live in this holographic field of wholeness. And it shifts, this is a very interesting term, it shifts the differentials in the equation. Does that make sense?
Are they talking math now? Because if they are, I'm in trouble. What does that mean? Shift the field, the differential.
Well, everything is a potential. Well, okay. Everything has the ability to influence your outcome. And if, for instance, if you're feeling weakened, if you're feeling insecure, if you're feeling that you don't have power, then other energies, aka people or mass consciousness, that has more power, that has more confidence, is the influencing field that moves things to and fro, forward, backward, whichever way their momentum is going. And many years ago, Archangel Michael came to me and really gave me a talking to in that kind of energy, that kind of aspect of, get it together. And he says, be the chooser. Someone is always choosing. Be the chooser. So in that, we went through a series of experiences where he taught me how to choose for myself. And yes, it influences someone else, because when you make a choice, it's a marker, and it focuses the energy into that choice, into that direction, whatever direction that choice is going.
A choice is a marker, and the marker influences the direction of the action of the choice.
Correct.
Okay, let's put this into real-world terms. I am waking up, and I'm feeling that I don't want to get out of bed. I want to stay in bed. Yes, there are things that I know that I have to do today. How do I empower myself to make the choice to overcome that feeling of that dense atmosphere surrounding me and get started on the day? What choice do I make? Give me a concrete example here. I'm loving the fact that this advice came from Archangel Michael.
The first thing I would do is look at the density. What density that's around you? Is that density a pressure of yourself that is saying, Mary, you need to rest? And, yourself, in those situations, the self has been probably trying to tell you to rest for many weeks. I'm actually getting the word many months. Mm-hmm. And it's been a message that's been ignored, and you're asserting pressure on yourself to to be in more of a quiet nature within you, to reattune, to reassess. Very, very important. And he is stating for everyone, at least every 6 weeks, reassess your life, reassess your direction, reassess
I
your
like
choices.
that. That's kind of like cleaning out your closet, your
Correct.
emotional closet. So let's stay on this vein. I like this a lot. How, if you were to sit down with an intention every 6 weeks and reassess your life, give us a process. What's a good way to do that?
All right.
Is it beneficial to go into a meditation and dedicate the meditation to assessing your life?
Well, it's necessary. It's necessary to have that journal. It's necessary to have the conversation with yourself. You know, what no longer belongs, and get rid of what no longer belongs first.
Okay, Ruth, I want to go more basic here. Let's talk about the steps that you do. Would it be beneficial to go into a meditation first where you just calm and still your mind? And then you kind of come out of that meditation and you do some journaling, you do some writing for yourself. I'm now in a calm space and I'm thinking about my career, my relationships, my to-do list, my status of things around me that need to be done so that I can live more comfortably. And then go into a self-conversation above the journaling. These are the kinds of things that I want to make manifest for humanity and bring it down to the level of really the definition of mindfulness and the mindfulness surrounding the process of assessing your life every 6 weeks or so.
You know, first of all, there's an assumption that each person is the same, each meditation is the same, and that's not true. So we will give steps, but comprehend that even staying in the rigidity of those steps is a disservice to yourself.
That makes sense.
So we will give you steps. I just want to make sure, because you're asking me to go back 18 years by going back to basics. And so give me, be with me as I do this. The journal, the meditation, go ahead.
Well, I was going to give you some space to go back to that, because where you are now and where you were 18 years ago, where you were 18 years ago is where most people are right now.
Precisely, I'm hearing.
So so I'd like for you to. I know it's tedious for you to have to go back, but I think it's beneficial.
No, it's not. It's not tedious. I just want to make sure that I'm not rushing.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that I give you helpful things and not the shortcuts.
I don't want shortcuts. I think no shortcuts here. And while you're doing that, while you're getting your mind organized to take us back and through those steps, I'd like to invite callers, if you'd like to call in with a question about how to do a life assessment, to make sure that you're staying on track with your goals and intentions and beliefs and manifestations. You can call us at 713-955-0415. Okay, Ruth, whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Highly, highly recommend is a I think he sells them by CD. I don't know. I think you might be able to get it on iTunes, but it's music called Stillness of Mind by Scott Raposa. And it is the only meditation music I use and have used for the last, since it was given to me in 2003 or 3.
Okay. Stillness of Mind, Music for Meditation by Scott Raposa. And if callers want to call in, press 1 if you have questions. Thank you. So you're recommending that we start with music to get to the stillness of mind point.
Well, and also comprehend that music is made, meditation music and music is made at 3 different levels. There is music that will keep you in your head. There is music that will take you to your heart, that resonates at the heart level. And there is music that will take you down into the core of your belly, into your enteric brain. The reason I use this particular music is that it walks you down right in the very first few chords. It walks you right down into the enteric brain so that it gets you into meditation deeper and faster than any other music I have worked with. And while I was in Texas, a friend of mine and we tested different meditative music, different instrumental music and that. And I've written to Scott and let him know. I mean, if I give a gift, it's that CD, and I've worn 4 of them out, and he's just a beautiful person. So anyway, that's what I would recommend. A lot of people, and here's what this music does, and music that takes you into your core is it also attunes you to the body and will help that process of calming the body. And when the body is calm and calms, it calms the mind. And so this takes work out of your meditation.
I think this is sounding to me like a gift to humanity, this music.
Precisely. It is special.
I will be posting information about Scott Raposa on Facebook.
Ruth. And it's interesting. It's interesting because many people who have been using meditation music for years and years then listen to this, and they have all stated that this music takes them where they've never gone before, deeper than they've ever. And so it's just, I just can't say enough about it. But anyway, okay, so let's go on to steps. Always have a journal available to you, whether you are meditating just as a meditation and a centering process and or as a process to receive information. Always have your journal available. Does not mean that you will be using it, but have it right there with a pen that works, and your glasses if you need them.
I'm a big believer in writing and words and journaling, so thank you. That's very good advice.
And always have water. Water is a conduit in the body, for the electromagnetic field. So those are 3 basic things. Have no expectations. None. Because all you're going to do is just relax, chill, recenter, be. And that's it.
Okay, so let's get to that conversation part. When is it appropriate to have the self-conversation?
Each person is different. And it really has a lot to do with belief systems. A lot of people are very afraid of voices, of not knowing who they're talking to. So they block it out, they shut it down. They're very afraid of the unknown. And so the higher self, the teams will actually back up and not communicate when there is fear present, indecision as to whether, this is okay or not. And that's why it's so important to just relax into your meditation and just let it flow. Let it be. Just get into a meditation practice and relax into it. And eventually, when your mind is open, then you will start receiving the communication.
Mind, body, mind, open.
Now, we're going to take you into those people that don't seem to have a choice. They start hearing anyway. But for right now, this is basic. And so just centering, getting your attention down into the enteric brain and starting to trust those energies, starting to trust and feel comfortable with your beingness, with your process, feeling good about yourself, feeling good about your process. And then you can open up to the conversation. Now, here's what happens 99% of the time. People start hearing the conversation, and then they start analyzing. Instead of listening and participating in the conversation, they start analyzing, who am I talking to? What did they say? Is this real? Is this? And they start going through this process of discounting.
I'm guilty.
Which
guilty as charged.
Doesn't. Oh, hey, I hear you. I mean, Michael is communicating this, but I have been there, done that. Yes. So, once you go into the discounting and the skepticism, it's a different ballgame, because then you have to go through the process of learning to trust yourself, learning to hear, learning, you're putting yourself through an education of what is going on. And that can take days, weeks, years, decades, lifetimes.
And it should.
Okay.
That's what we came here for. That's our life.
It's a choice. It's a choice.
You still there? Choice. Absolutely, it is a choice.
It's a choice. It's a choice.
Okay, so we're talking about music first to clear the mind and to bring you in alignment with your body and mind, and then your mind again, your mind, body, and mind. Having the journal nearby so you can capture your thoughts and have them make sense. Having water nearby to feed the body, to sustain the body. Having no expectations and allowing yourself to just be, which is a very difficult thing for most people. We're usually playing a role or driving towards some task or goal. So sitting back and just being in touch with who we are in spirit is part of the process here. And then the self-conversation that we talked about is really your persona, in alignment with your higher self. And the higher self is your spirit, your blueprint, the ball of energy that came here to do what needs to be done in your body and with your spirit and your personality. But that also goes to an opening to other spirit energies and guides that can assist you with what it is you're wanting to accomplish. And instead of being afraid of it and scared of the unknown, it's best to just be open to it. It's easier than it sounds. When I listen to what you're saying about this process with my heart, it sounds like a no-brainer. When I listen to this process be described with my head, I'm always thinking about the next question. Yes, but how? Yes, but how? Yes, but why? All of those things happen when I come in with the intellectual portion of my personality and the questioning portion of my personality. And now I know that the music would probably help sweep all that questioning aside and leave me just open to relax a little bit.
It does, because and you started this with the music clears your mind. Well, the music the music actually clears your body, which settles the mind. Because when you've got a lot of stuff going on in the body is engaged. The high mind is engaged in both your body and your social network, and it's trying to discern the two, the difference between the two, and it can't. No. It's trying to build a bridge between the inside and the outside, and it can't. Because what's going on in the inside isn't what is true for the outside. The other thing that's really important, since returning home, I have been working with, I'm trying to say this, who have...
Ruth, we have a little dead space there.
Okay.
I'm trying to.
How's this?
That's much better. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Since I returned home, I've been working with some people that have been having extreme difficulty in their lives, and one is a person who had a large problem, and the problem is much larger than anything that she could see outside of that problem. So she saw no outcome, no ability. She felt no ability to feel hope, to feel her life had any goodness to reach for or to get to. And the other person, actually is an intuitive, and she has completely opened herself up to these energies, to these voices. And it became out of control to where she attempted suicide to quiet the voices. Mm-hmm. So you've got two different extremes here. And last show we were talking about suicide, or the last couple shows. And these are two adventures, they're calling them, that prompt inability to ground and be at peace with oneself. So working through both of these was quite intense. We're going to go with the woman with the overwhelming situation first. Okay. When you have a life situation where things are so heavy, so pushing on you, so demanding and out of control in that way, in the human way, and it's hard to find your center. These steps of meditation are key to beginning to find your way through, because your way through is through the center of your being. That is where you discover, you recover, you reclaim your own power. And when you have connected in with your own power, your own knowingness, belief, confidence, and this builds to trust. trusting yourself, these help you to stand up and recognize yourself and recognize all of the pressure that is coming at you and the unfairness and the things that aren't right, the choices that everybody else is making that is making your life miserable. And when you find that inner confidence, that's when you start making choices that blows apart all of that difficulty. Because everything is energy. And your uprightness in your own life starts with you getting in touch with your knowing, believing in what you know, and having confidence that you believe in what you know. And then you can take the steps in life where you gain the trust in your own confidence.
So we're getting toward the other end of the spectrum, the more advanced, Ruth, to where you are as an intuitive being. And I know that you recently went through something very, very interesting. I've been fascinated to watch it, but you've had weeks where you've been in reclamation and recovery. Do you want to share a little bit about that process that you've just gone through? It's a very, I think it was a 12-week process. Is that right?
It's a 12-week process, and after I go through this, let's make sure that we get back to the other scenario, because the other scenario is where a lot of people on their spiritual journey are, and we have to get to that information. Mm-hmm. So this 12-week journey has been about restoration, reclamation, and recovery of goods. How do we explain this? Help me to say the words. I was engaged on this journey in February of 1997, where I was given a choice to stay or go, and I chose to stay. So with that started the journey of movement, getting me to this area and where I live. It was, a few years, and it was breaking away relationships that weren't working, weren't supportive, breaking away those belief systems that I had bought into, that I had been trained up in, that have nothing to do with truly who I am in my beingness. And in this journey, as I grew more and more into myself, understanding myself and accepting myself, then an advanced layer, so to speak, came forward and taught me more. And through that, I was able to write curriculums and help other people while I'm helping myself understand those deeper and greater layers. So as that journey came to the end of understanding this holographic system and getting the steps, the frequencies, the base frequencies that, knowing there are base frequencies that each person has, that came to an end May of 2014, so a year and a half ago. So in this last year and a half, there's been a transition of putting all of that, even though I've been living this, really putting it into a workable language and life and experience, working the information, living the information. And in that process, transitioning from the corporate world, the spiritual teaching world, spiritual understanding and teaching world, the mentoring, the channeling, all of that, transitioning into my own dreams and desires of where I honor myself, which is the writing, the film, the books, the art, and while I'm doing the intuitive dimensional communication. And so in these last 12 weeks I've moved into these different configurations, and these last 12 weeks have been a true shifting where of finalizing. We're no longer mentoring, no longer doing any of the curriculum, really getting my head out of the way of, but I know all this stuff, what do I do with it kind of thing, and maybe I can go this direction, maybe I can go in that direction, because everyone is so talented and has so many gifts, and we can go in a million different directions, but really there's only one or two directions, three directions that are my directions. And so in the process of establishing those dreams, these old pieces and parts come forward and distract me. So this 12-week process was to finish the distractions. And it was alternating restoration, recovery of goods, reclamation and recovery of goods. What that entailed was rest, nourishment, reclaiming parts of myself reclaiming confidence, if you will, reclaiming parts of that higher self that I didn't yet know existed. Recovery of goods was not just physical. I did get physical goods recovered, but also recovery of goods is recovering friendships, recovering confidence, recovering, different areas of history that had been difficult in the past, but now are smooth and easy. So it's just been this process, and it ended Tuesday night. And so Wednesday morning when I woke up, I'm laying in bed considering just how I feel, not even thinking that it's the end of the process. And suddenly this energy in me just all came together in this agreement. And I became the agreement of who I am as I agreed to be in this lifetime. And what that feels like for me is, and for everyone when they get to that place, when you become the agreement of who you are as agreed by and for and with, designed by your higher self, when you become that resonance, that resonating energy on this planet, all of the molecules, all of the energy around you is likable. Everything is resonant. And you feel a oneness in an exponential, grounded manner. It's no longer nebulous. It's no longer a theory. It's no longer fleeting. It is.
When you
and there's a harmony
when you become the agreement of who you are as designed by your higher self, all the molecules and energy around you becomes likable and resonant. And that at that point, really, you can say, I know who I am, and feel strong and feel confident.
It's an I am who I am. I am who I came here to be, is the statement. I am who I came here to be. And there's a harmonic order that locks into place. And what Michael is saying right now, the system shifts into a higher gear, a smoother resonance.
I'm not sure if this is the right point, but we talked about how to get this information out to help others. And you just finished explaining the process that was designed for you. It sounds like in February of 1997, you were given a choice to stay on this earth and continue or to leave this earth, and you chose to stay. And in the process of staying here since 1997, you've gotten to the point of saying, I am now who I came here to be. And you've aligned with your life purpose, and you've come into a greater understanding. And now we need to talk about how we can get this information out to help others go through this process. My mind wants to say that the goal should be to get to the I am who I am. I am now who I came here to be.
Well, be in self. Be in self. And that is a term that may not be comprehended in the beginning. But be in self. You know, we reach for this nebulous higher self, and we think of it as out there. Be in self. Self is the resonant energy that runs up through the center of you. Be in self, and it is the holographic field, the light. That is self, that you are. And that is your whole system, your whole knowledge, your whole beingness. Now, the system, this is Michael is stating this, the system that we've brought forth, the resonant motion process, he's indicating direction for all in physical body. So it is the same movement, the same structure. Where it differentiates is in the frequency. Each individual has their own frequency set, their own their own aspects and portals of communication. Everyone has portals of communication. Everyone has self-honor. Everyone has frequencies that are their contribution to humanity. Everyone has frequencies that are their self-honor. Everyone has frequencies that is their nectar, their draw. But what is different is that the frequencies that you own, Mary, and you own whoever is listening on this, those frequencies are individually fulfilled and expressed. That is the difference. Now,
and you don't have to wait a lifetime to get there.
Correct.
I mean, this is not something that happens on
and
your
honestly, I have to tell you, this woman in with this big problem, I've only been working with her for a couple of months, and she yesterday, and she says to validate everything of your life, your process, your work. She says, I know my power. And she sat there and she reiterated how she feels, what she claimed, and I just looked at her and I said, that's exactly it. And so she is taking that forward and recognizing that because it's new, it could be, she doesn't know what tomorrow's like. She knows how to get back there. So, and that's the other thing that's really, really important. When you gather a step that works for you, don't discount it. It may not work all the time in that exact same way, but recognize how that you can get back there. You can get back into self. You can have your own power because you do have your own power. Mm-hmm. You are empowered. We do need to talk about the other the other thing with the situation with the many voices, where you open up and you start hearing, you start receiving, you start accepting voices. You start accepting the messages. There are, and the example are the crystal children, which are not just children, they are adults, some in their senior years. There are people who naturally come in vibrating at a higher resonance. And if we go back into talking about just using the 22 dimensions of mind as an example, and equating dimension 3 with the third dimensional world. And we've spoken about the world, the earth, moving into the 5th dimension in the 2012 energies. It is actually resonating much higher than that in the 7th and 8th dimension. Readers, intuitive psychics, back in 2011, were generating their information from the 7, 8, 9, 10th, and 11th dimension. Today, most of your readers are generating information from the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th, and 15th dimensions. If you have someone who comes into this planet, which are your indigo and crystal children, they are naturally resonating at the 18th dimension. And they're living in a 6th, 7th, and 8th dimensional physical world. And they have not yet tapped into their own true nature, which is their self, the light of their self. That is their true nature. And they are buying into, and we call it buying into, basically looking to others for information. And through their learning period, they're learning about Reiki, they're learning about these different methods. They're learning, they're going to tarot readers that are reading from 11th dimension or even the 7th dimension. They're looking for information and gathering information from a lower mind. So when they open themselves up and really click into this lower mind, it's really messing their system up. Does that make sense?
I think so. I'm still looking at the definition of indigo children and crystal children.
Do you need the definition?
I think we should give our readers the definition. Do you have them?
Here's the definition. He says, he's saying that they're simply of a higher light quotient.
Okay.
They are of
are there levels?
17th,
Are the indigos
18th.
higher than the crystals?
He's not going to answer that. He's not going to respond to that because it doesn't matter.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So just know that they are of a higher dimension. They are dimensions 16 through 22 is where their natural state is. But what we do as parents is we can become afraid of higher knowledge, their remembering of past lives, their sight of deceased grandparents. So and the way our schools are set up is we put them into schools and we traditionally train them, educate them in this lower mind world. And we have this fallacy that it is more important. So we drum it into them as to how important it is to get good grades, how important it is to conform, to behave. So they trade out their beliefs in their higher knowledge, in what they already know. They trade it out to live in, for this lower information to live in this lower dimension, which is fine. However, what is coming down the pipeline for this planet is that these higher energies must engage to make a physical world that is resonant with the higher frequencies. So we have to come to the point of disengaging the low mind training. And that is done on an individual basis at this point. So each person who's trained up in the low mind training that has a natural flowing frequency, emotional energy and motion at the rate of the 16th dimension and higher, and even 14th and higher, has to be completely careful in what they engage in the lower dimensions as a spiritual practice. For example, we are going to pick on Reiki for a moment. It is a method of high energy, high spiritual healing for someone in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th dimension, possibly 6th and 7th. But for someone coming from a 16th dimension, it is like working in the dark arts because it's a lower frequency, a lower energy. So what that person in the higher frequency is doing is they're inviting in lower frequencies into their life. And the more they practice those, the more they believe in those, the more difficult their life gets. And things start disengaging and getting out of control. And they don't know how to get back.
So, Ruth, how can we get this information out? How can we start getting people to realize what step they're at or where they're at on the rung of dimensionality living?
Be engaged in self. Start believing in self. Start at the perineum. Know what you know. In the gut, believe in what you know. In the heart, be confident in what you believe, in what you know. And live your life from your inner beingness, that you can start trusting your confidence, your belief, and your knowing.
So because this is such an individual process and we are all at different levels of understanding, whether we know it or not, the aspect of human compassion is huge. We spend time doing our inner work, and then as we enter the outer world and have to interact with the people that are driving on the road with us or shopping at the grocery store with us, compassion should just fill our heart for what, there's that saying that, be kind because you have no idea what another person might be going through. That's huge.
It's very big. Compassion is very huge, but compassion for yourself is bigger. Because if you don't have compassion for yourself, then what you're giving someone else is connected.
Well, that makes a very different world for each individual to have compassion for themselves and then compassion for others. We start living a very different lifestyle when that happens, when that plugs itself in. And is that the vision for humanity? Is that the direction that we're going to expand in that way, to have compassion for self, to know self, have compassion for self, and then to have compassion for others? Is that the vision that we are striving for?
I'm going to make a statement that is coming from Michael, and his response to what you just said is, so as stated in the record of Akash, the collective has agreed to this, and it has begun. And so it is.
Well, I want to bring in a quote by actress Ellen Burstyn. She says, what a lovely surprise to finally discover how unlonely being alone can be.
That's a beautiful, beautiful statement.
And it comes in right
Beautiful
after that statement by what you downloaded from, or what you're translating from Archangel Michael, about the fact that this collective that we belong to has agreed to this. And now, like that little seed that's just beginning to germinate and come out of its protective coat and grow into something new to transform itself, we've all chosen this. And the first place that we need to start is that quote about what a lovely surprise to finally discover how unlonely being alone can be. Because if you develop compassion for self and then expand that to compassion for others, you can celebrate your individual identity while also never feeling alone.
And you can celebrate everyone else's individual identity as well.
Perfect. Now, that living in a world like that alters the way we do relationships.
It does.
So we are seeing some people pioneering new kinds of relationships. Relationships that are based on that kind of loyalty that doesn't come from fear, but the loyalty that comes from I love you. I see things about you that I love in myself, and therefore I want to continue to be around you. I resonate with you.
And that's precisely it.
Yeah, and the resonance also has a lot to do with honesty. How are you really feeling right now? Well, I can be the highest, happiest, most greatly involved or evolved human being possible on the face of this earth. And yet I can go out, have a really bad day in traffic, be late to all my appointments, buy the wrong color paint, have to go back to the hardware store, burn the dinner, and cut my finger in the process. And in that density that I happen to be passing through, like a storm passes over, I just have to know that the place that I've come to, the evolution that I've come to, isn't going to pull me back from that bad day. That because I've come that far, I can't be sucked back by the riptide of a bad day and have to make that progress that I've made all over again. I have to keep swimming.
That's true. That's true. That's truly the way it is. You know, it's interesting. Also, in that relationship, the new paradigm of relationship, there is, you spoke of loyalty. There is a resonance that exists between the two people that is the loyalty that is effortless. And that creates an effortless boundary that keeps others away from disrupting that relationship. And it's all invisible. It's all energy. And here's the thing. That is the paradigm. It's not new anymore. That is the paradigm that now exists on the planet. And here is the action step. These relationships, these energies exist on this planet for each and every individual currently present. Where you stand now in who you feel you are and how you act and action in your life, the chances of you being at the elevation of that resonant nature currently slim to none. So, it is necessary for each individual to connect in with self, to work through their lower vibrations, forgive those low vibrations, transmute them out, believe in themselves, know, believe, be confident, trust. This is the elevator that gets you to that higher resonating agreement, where these effortless boundaries are created and this loyalty and the partnership of true desire exists. So what your job is as a dimensional human being is to walk the steps up until the elevator becomes automatic and takes you up.
So each individual must connect with their self, to reach their higher good self. And in that way, the world changes. Bad days do not become a thing of the past. They're just dealt with a different energy. But that's a significant enough shift in the world that we can really make change. I'm thinking that this is probably where the ultimate charity resides. In the paradigm that we're living right now, in this world where there are billions, it feels like, nonprofits and charities dedicated to the betterment of mankind, we can throw money at everything, but until we really change our inner selves and reach to the best of our own higher good and our own higher self, really where the charity begins. It's where charity begins. It's where healing, self-healing, heals the collective.
It's interesting, Mary, because with these steps that you know I've downloaded through this group, this Ascended Masters, Archangels, the collective triune, the holographic field, once that light enters the body, the first step is bliss. The second step is breath. The third step is grace. The fourth step is functional ease. And these walk up through the body, and each step creates the foundation and supports the next one. So after functional ease is your power, which is at the throat, the voice, and then balance and stability, and then nectar. And the nectar comes out the crown and flows into the next step, which is self-honor. And after self-honor comes your contribution to humanity. And after you have connected in and fulfilled within your own system those energies of contribution to humanity, opens the portals to communicate it with the rest of the world, to engage with the rest of the world. So these are the steps. That building foundation into self-honor is first.
Bliss.
And then you can contribute.
Right. I'm going to go through the steps again. Bliss, breath. What's after breath?
Grace.
Then functional ease.
Yes.
Then power. You discover your voice at your throat chakra. Then balance. Then the next
balance and stability is one. Balance and stability is one.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Then nectar, and the way you describe or define nectar is what is nectar? Nectar
is the one frequency, which is a complete blend of bliss up through balance and stability. It is the complete blend of all of that, and it comes out into your holographic field and becomes the draw, the frequency that draws. Look at it this way. It's nectar. It draws the bees to you.
Okay.
So if you're not in touch with your nectar, for example, I knew nothing about nectar, and I have this frequency that is my nectar, and it draws people into me. But I was irritated with what was coming in. I did not see it as a good thing. So when you are not connected in with your own self, when you're not connected in with your nectar, what comes to you is an irritation because it's trying to get your attention. It comes to you in its correct intention, but what you're humanly experiencing is an irritation. And so you create a life of push-pull. You create drama. I don't want this person around me. I don't want this thing around me. I want just the opposite. Well, now what's drawing in is exactly what resonates with my human awareness and desire.
Because you've come to self-honor, and now you've come to the point where you are ready to make a contribution to society through these radio programs where you're allowing this information to let itself out into the world.
Correct.
Okay. That's it for a minute here because that's pretty big. As you begin with your mindfulness music and your journal and your water and your conversation with your higher self, you know that the next steps are bliss, breath, grace, functional ease, power, balance, and stability. The nectar, where you discover that all of your frequencies of those things that are bliss, breath, grace, functional ease, and power, that balance and stability all come together, they begin to draw things to you, which may either be an irritant or maybe your favorite manifestation.
Well, by the time you get in touch with that nectar, it won't be an irritation. Until you get in touch with it, it may be an irritation.
Okay, yes. Thank you for clarifying that. And then once you reach that, you are ready to make your contribution to humanity. Now, Ruth, you stand on the precipice, on the edge of the Grand Canyon, and you say, Canyon, I am ready to fill you with my contribution to humanity. Two things can happen. The canyon fills and resonates with your contribution to humanity, or the canyon stays empty and doesn't accept what you have to put into it. Help me make my way through this analogy.
There is a state of readiness that occurs that meets you. It's very interesting because I'm looking at my own experience to help explain this. When my contribution was ready, I was met with the handshake, so to speak. I was met with the yes. I was met. But my human awareness, my consciousness, was not translating it as correct, as what I wanted. Does that make sense? Because what we do in our humanness is we concoct these dreams, desires, and we as non-human can manifest in the blink of an eye. So when we come into our human bodies, we have that memory of manifesting very quickly. So we have these dreams, desires, and goals of what we are accomplishing, what we're working toward, and we have this human design of what it looks like. So we lock into that human design because that's what we humanly can see and sense. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But what happens in the human time is a slower process, and so there are steps that build one step to the other. And so where I met the handshake, I was still looking for the bigger picture to be magically opened in front of me. And that bigger picture has taken 9 months, 6 months to. It actually took 4 months for me to recognize this is it. This is it. This is what it looks like. Mm-hmm. And then I had to get to work because my human, I was no longer dreaming. I had to actually action. I was like, oh, I can't, this isn't out there. I can't blame anybody. I can't blame anything. I can't say it's out there and I'm still waiting for it and I'm still reaching for it. No, it's right here. And that's when you kind of go, oh, I got the job that I really, really, really always wanted. And now I'm in the building and I have to now do the job. And so it's, there's human recognition of what is happening that is a process. And in that process, you can easily discount what's going on. You can turn away from it, especially if it's something that looks like a repeat scenario. Can I trust it? And again, this is where, I had built the knowing, believe, confidence, and had to reintegrate back into, it was another step up into trust. And so it's like, okay, and what happened this time is that where journey, it's felt like a one-sided process. Me and humanity out there living its life and going on its day and not even noticing. And so trying to get things done has just been really frustrating. Well, what happened this time is the handshake actually took over and created a safe space without my having to build that safe space. Is this making sense?
S-A-F-E, the safe space.
Correct.
Okay.
So that I could easily step into the yes. So it became a partnership. What happens when you are in contribution to humanity, your self-honor, your life, the reason that you're here, become a partnership with others in a way that is felt as magical and surprising and exciting.
Unique and unusual and repeatable and really lovely. It makes it lovely to be a human.
It really is, and it's very resonant, and then it becomes this snowball where other things light up all around you and start coming into action, into fruition, and suddenly you're surrounded by all of your dreams, desires, and goals right there in life. It's real. But where you have to start is if you want to, they're stating if you want to make it effortless as humanly possible, get in touch with yourself, your inner beingness, and develop that relationship, because the power in that relationship is exponential. And the result, the outcome that relationship can bring and create and help you build. You still have to action your own human steps, but the power behind that manifestation is beyond explanation. You can take the power of 10,000 human beings disconnected and the power of your one beingness connected, and you'd still be stronger in manifesting than those 10,000 people.
That seems like a number that works for me, even in my limited numerical brain. I'm going to bring us back down to earth here for a second, because I am fascinated, as you know, by science and scientific things. And living in Arizona, it's not really known as a tectonic region. But this week, I experienced my first earthquake and the sensation of what it was like to understand what it means when those plates shift and the earth moves. Do you have any commentary, Ruth, about the shifting of the earth's plates in unusual places, and what this all might mean for us? I mean, I was thinking, rather selfishly, I'd like to feel an earthquake. I want to be in touch with what the earth is and how it moves. I want it to be real for me. Of course, when it happened, I was scared. And I didn't know really what was happening until later. And the way I found out that it was an earthquake is that I had a text from a friend who's a magician. And in the space of 5 minutes, my brain literally went from fear to what, to questioning, to magician, to earthquake. It was actually really entertaining. But what about this? What about manifesting the earthquake and then manifesting a text from a magician to answer the questions that I was asking? What was that? Why was the shower door rattling? Why did it sound like there were, 500 pounds of something jiggling on the roof? Really an interesting experience. Any commentary?
Did you listen to the end of the last show?
I did, and I don't know how that set us up for that experience, but this aspect, this idea of talking about how we manifest things is really pretty intriguing to me.
Well, at the end of the last show, which was 2 weeks ago, is when Michael came forward and stated that in the area there are things happening to shake things up.
Literally.
And then you text me and said you had an earthquake. And when I looked on your post on Facebook, there were 3 earthquakes, and they were all area north of the valley in an unpopulated area, and it shook things up.
True.
It gives you a different perspective of your area. It gives you a different perspective of what's going on in the earth. And we talked about last week about, every few weeks, shake things up, every week, take a day and do something different. Do something out of your routine. Life is being shaken up. People must connect in with themselves. It's not about the tectonic plate. It's about the core healing of the earth. It's about the core healing of the human body, the human being. It's about core nature, getting back into true nature. Core rebalancing. Core magnetics. Core magnetics in your human body is the knowing, believe, confidence, and trust. These are key. And when you go into those meditations, and you don't even have to go into a meditative state. Consider your knowing. Consider bliss. Consider believe. Consider breath and grace at these lower regions. Just consider them. And when you consider or meditate, you get out of the fear of what was that? Why was that? Why did that happen? What is that telling me? When you come into the center beingness, you rebalance all of that, let go of the chaos, and you come into the serenity.
Serenity and no fear. I'm fascinated by this.
Precisely.
I actually overheard a conversation about 2 weeks ago in a large group of people where 2 of the people at the event admitted that they just don't feel any fear anymore. And the ones that admitted to still feeling fear were fearful of the ones who admitted to having no fear. But what do you mean by that? If you don't have fear, how can you protect yourself from damage, injury, misery, or harm? But a world without fear really could be possible.
It is possible. 10 years ago, Dr. Farley looked at me and he just says, "You don't have any fear, do you?" And I'm like, "No, there's no point in it." It doesn't mean that I don't have moments of caution. Caution and fear are two very different energies.
Well, caution begins with the letter, caution begins with the letter C, and it also has the word see embedded in it. I like that. It is all in what you see. How you discern what you see.
And here, because caution, your inner voice will caution you. Your system, your holographic system, will send pings, vibrational pulses through your body when you've made a choice that is counter to your well-being. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it happens all day, every day. And we're overriding those all the time. And we can do that without awareness. As we are connecting in with self, we will even do that with awareness, mm-hmm. until we learn, until we decide make the choice that we no longer want to stub our toes or trip and fall on our faces. Right. But the electromagnetic field of your body is always sending pulses throughout your system to let you know of any counter choice that you are making, have made, or that is coming. For example, going back to the storm in my dream. As I looked at the storm, when I first looked at the storm in the dream, it was like, oh my gosh, look what's coming. But instead, and I started to scurry, and I stopped, looked at the clouds, and I saw that the front, this weather system, had stalled. And that was what was actually moving very fast is this higher frequency of white light clouds. And so when I went into my journaling, I knew that I needed to shift some things in my physical location. We talked weeks ago about, how I shift the paintings around to recreate, to adjust the energies. I've made significant strides in raising my vibration, getting into the life I love. And so now the paintings needed to be shifting. My whole environment needs to, shift. I had the structure of the organization. Things needed to be put in order, which I've done. And so that front has stalled. The storm has stalled. It's out there. And this is helpful information to let me know that there are things that I need to take care of. My electromagnetic field is sending me information, telling me that something needs to be done, or I will suffer the consequences of this huge storm coming in. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I took care of it. So the storm is stalled. Storm is done. It's done. It's out there. It's done. It's dissipating. It happens with storms. When they don't come into the valley in the monsoon season, they just sit out there because of because of whatever reason. They sit out there and then they dissipate. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You can engage in the conversation of the earthquake and what happened, and oh my gosh, and look at all of this horrible stuff that has happened, in a big earthquake. You can engage in the drama and the chaos, or you can engage in the solution. That's the choice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you're one to engage in the chaos and the drama, you're just keeping this energy going, and you're kicking up the dust. That's the storms collecting in our atmosphere. Mm-hmm. It's all connected. It's all connected. Look at our media. We used to, when you and I were growing up, news used to be news. And then it started changing into advertising the news. What's coming up in this next segment? What's coming up tonight? And now it's become this media sensation. It's no longer just news. This has happened all over the planet. This is, it's all connected. So when you go back into that core beingness, that core balance, and that calms everything down, you do dissipate fear. Fear no longer exists. in the world of the person who is centered and whole in their beingness.
That's a beautiful thought, Ruth. I think we're getting
That's a beautiful experience, Mary.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. It really is. Thank you.
Because it's more than just a thought. It's no longer theory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No longer theory.
Oh.
Good quote.
And I am hearing with that we are complete.
I think we are complete. That really felt like a gift right there at the end.
So I'm going to go back to my computer, and I'm going to go back to my computer, and I'm hoping that I can still stay connected, but so that I can close out the show. You were saying something about callers?
Yes, we had callers on the line today. Nobody called in with a question, but we hope to have some callers next week on our show. Ruth, thank you very much for a very interesting conversation, as always. And I am signing out. Goodbye, and thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mary. And this is The Conversation. I'm Ruth Evelyn. You're here with Ruth Evelyn and Mary Holden. And we are complete, and we will return in 2 weeks at 10 a.m. Thank you very much.